Welcome, everyone, to the 2021 Commencement Address. For those of us joining us online, we are live on University Avenue and joined by members of the ANU community across Australia and around the world. And can I say it is great to have students back on campus. ANU is here on the land of our First Nations people, and I would like to invite Paul House, a proud Namri Ngunnawal man, to welcome us to his country. Paul?
Wurrugawurri, Brian. Thank you very much. Jumburuburu Marambang, Maranya Mayin. Good morning, everyone. Baladu Yaba, Nyambri Wogalu, Wiradri Niang. I'm speaking Nyambri Wogalu, Wiradri language, Mijimbolda, Paul House Girawa. My name is Paul House Girawa. I was born here at the centre of my ancestral country, the old Canberra Hospital. Nyari Marambang Bulundingi Maranya Buru. It's good to see everyone here today. Yilangalangbu, Gibabango Wogabo Migabo, Dera Nilbang Maranya. Ladies and gentlemen, young men, young women, distinguished guests, Professor Brian Schmidt, Yawura man, Mr. Peter Yu, Nyari Njamali, Nyambri, Gamal, Wogalu, Wallabala, Anunawa, Mujigang, Yanambu, Jandu. My respects to Nyambri, Gamal, Wogalu, Wallabaloa, elders past and present. Nyari and Jamarabu, Mujigango, Nuranga, Banji Guru. My respects to all people and all elders from all parts of the country here today. Nyambri Nunawa, Maranya Gaim Banya Ninyoga Nurumbango Dara. Nyambri Nunawa people welcome you all to country. Yinjamara, Yinjamalgiri, Yinjamarabu. Respect, respecting, respectful. Mambawara Naminyagu, Wujabaginya, Wuradaragu, Winningala, Gubaligu. Looking to see and listening to hear and learning to understand. Yinjamara, Magagiri, Biringa, Bogongu, Dirinda. Respect can be found in the journey of the Bogong moths in the mountains. Yinjamara, Bala Wallamwanga Dabu, Muran Marandabu, Bamuyu, Gurungambira. Respect can be found in the grinding stones and the carved trees made long ago on country. Injamara, Balabira, Binabira, Wurawin, Nyamba Nuna Wadara. Respect can be found in the rivers, quietly moving through Yambri Ngunnawal country. This welcome to country is made in the spirit of peace and a desire for harmony for all peoples of the modern ACT and surrounds. And our main aim as local custodians is to establish an atmosphere of mutual respect through the acknowledgement of our ancestors and the recognition of our rights to declare our special place in the pre and post contact of the region. We warmly welcome everyone now living, working, visiting and studying on our ancestral country. We've cared for Mother Earth since the dawn of time, and evidence of our statehood, our sovereignty, our ownership can be seen everywhere throughout the land. Our signature is in the land, not just our DNA. In taking care of country is important to us all. Muran Wiginya Yinjamara Muran Muru Wuran Biradara. A respectful way of life cares for country. Yinjamara Maramara Ni and Yinyagiramar Maranya. Respect shapes us and lifts up the people. Yinjamara Wiran Bida Marando Gobo, Wiran Bida Giyira Gobo, Wiran Bida Yando Gobo. Respect is taking responsibility for the now, the past and the present. The law of the land talks about giving respect and honour to all people in all parts of the country. Giving honour, being patient, being polite, being gentle, and then people will respect you. Remember, under the concrete and the steel and glass of our cities and our country towns, there's a rich, powerful First Nation history in this land. A shared history, now a shared history that belongs to all of us. We all have a responsibility in looking after country. The more we look after the land and the rivers, the more the land and the rivers look after us. So in conclusion, it's great to see everyone here and here at the ANU moving forward with education an opportunity to move forward into your future, into your career, into study and future. Very important. On behalf of my mother, Dr. Auntie Matilda House, and all our matriarchs and patriarchs here on country, and in the spirit of peace and reconciliation, I'd like to say Gurabari, welcome, welcome, and Wurrugawurri, thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for your warm welcome to country to our students who are just joining us for what will be a long journey, and so it's particularly important to have you along today. For our new students, one of the many opportunities you'll have while you study with us is to learn more about our local Indigenous, literally 20,000 years. And I encourage you to participate in as many events, trainings, and courses that we offer so that you can learn about this part of the world where you will have one of the most formative times of your lives. And celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we're meeting today, and I pay my respects to the Ngunnawal Ngambri elders past and present. I would also like to welcome the Honourable Malcolm Turnbull, former Prime Minister of Australia, and our two, Jana Garaja and Eve Walker. And finally, I'd like to welcome our new students, current students, and our staff. With COVID restrictions in place, many of you will be joining us around Australia or around the world. And on behalf of the ANU, I can't wait to welcome you to our campus as soon as possible. For some, that will be quite soon, and others, I'm afraid, delays remain. The foundation of our community is our diversity, and until everyone can join us in person, we are really missing a key part of the diversity that a university provides. And so I am hopeful that we will see our border restrictions ease soon so that all up everything there is to offer here. Now, the commencement address this morning is an ANU tradition to welcome new students to our campus. And each year, I'm joined by extraordinary individuals from the Australian community who share some of their own thoughts and experiences of university life and where their path took them after graduation. In August this year, we are celebrating our 75th year since ANU was founded by an Act of Parliament. And this close, unique, and fundamental connection for our community, including yourself. I am delighted that our 2021 commencement address will be delivered by the Honourable Malcolm Turnbull, the 29th Prime Minister of Australia. Malcolm grew up in Sydney, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Laws from the University of Sydney. He was awarded a Rhodes Scholarship that allowed him to complete a Bachelor of Civil Law with honours from the University of Oxford. Malcolm spent his pre-politics life working in many different professions, including as a journalist, a lawyer, a merchant banker, and a venture capitalist. This has, of course, given him that amazing, diverse range of life experiences. He was responsible for many things during his time as Prime Minister. Snowy Hydro 2.0, just down the road from here, an important step in creating a sustainable and reliable renewable energy program for Australia, one of the strategic areas of research for our university. Please join me without further ado in welcoming the Honourable Malcolm Turnbull to deliver the 2021 Commencement Address.
Well, thank you very much, Vice-Chancellor. Yangu galanyin nalawiri, dani nanawal dara, wangara lin jinyin, maran bulan bugrabang. We're gathered on Ngunnawal land and we acknowledge and honour their elders, past and present. Firstly, please accept my congratulations and the talent to be accepted by the Australian National University, to which, of course, I offer a happy 75th birthday message as well. You're joining one of the finest universities, not just in Australia, but in the world. Now, I began with country in the Ngunnawal language, who are the traditional custodians of this Canberra district. Recovering that language and how it became the first Australian Indigenous language spoken by an Australian Prime Minister in the House of Representatives is a fascinating story, which I won't detain us with today. But if I may give you a good piece of local Canberra, be sure to visit and get to know the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies, AATSIS. It's a remarkable centre for research on our First Nations cultures and has been particularly good at recording, recovering and promoting the languages of Australia. Before European settlement, there were over 300 distinct Indigenous languages in Australia, each as different from the other as Hungarian is from English. Regrettably, AATSIS has a very low profile. Indeed, to my great surprise, I was the first Prime Minister to visit it. Make sure to check it out. Typically attended a university in their own city, as I did at the University of Sydney. This is distinct from the experience in many other countries where students go to university somewhere else. And the university experience is consequently much more of a watershed in leaving home, even if temporarily. However, the aims from right across Australia, and that coupled with a large overseas student cohort means you'll be joining classes with students from many different places in Australia and around the world. So I want to encourage you to take a keen interest in getting to know your classmates, where they come from, their life stories, their cultures, values and interests. In other words, even if you're not taking any classes in anthropology, make sure to engage in amateur anthropology and learn as much as you can about your fellows. Now, curiosity, after all, is at the very heart of scholarship and research. Your Chancellor, our dear friend Julie Bishop, used to be interested in innovation was because I got bored quickly. Julie's wit is as dry as her human insights are keen. So as someone who remains restlessly curious, I want to encourage you to be especially so here. You're in the best place in the world to learn new things and meet new people. Now, I know that most of us nowadays do most of our research in front of a screen. But don't forget that the say to anyone is to ask them to share their knowledge with you. All too often, especially when we're young, we try hard to demonstrate how much we know. Far better to approach those more knowledgeable with a beguilingly innocent request for assistance. Keep asking questions. All my life, including when I was Prime Minister, I did my best to find people who knew a lot about things I wanted to learn about. I've always taken notes, and in the last decade or so on tablets and computers. That was a great benefit because my handwriting is illegible, even to me. One of the most useful things I learnt as a 17-year-old was how to type. Of course, everyone can do that nowadays. It wasn't so common in my youth. And don't just limit yourself to the academics here at the university. There are a lot of very smart people in Canberra. Some of them, this may surprise you, are politicians. Now, a lot of us are sure of being knocked back. Don't worry about that. You want to have afternoon tea with the Governor-General and discuss the reserve powers or the Chief Justice or learn more about what ASIO does? Ask them. Be asked, and if they say no, you're no worse off. If they're too busy to see you, they may recommend someone else. Very, very few people, if asked to share their knowledge or experience, will just tell you to buzz off. And remember, very often the people who know the most are not at the top of an organisation. When we were in opposition, and I was doing my research on broadband technologies and deployment, I'm executives and chairman, and instead connected with the engineers and designers who were actually doing the work. Either way, a good lesson for life is this: if you don't ask, you don't get. So don't be afraid to keep asking questions, and you'll meet a lot of new people, and you'll also learn a lot as well. Now, one of the most important and enduring initiatives, as the Vice-Chancellor observed, of my time as PM, came from my asking smart people lots of questions about a subject I wanted to, was the storage of renewable energy. Now, as we all know, the cost of producing electricity from wind and solar photovoltaics is getting cheaper all the time. The cost per watt of a PV module has declined by about 90% over the last decade. And thanks to a lot of great renew, that trend is continuing. But of course, the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine all the time. So how do you store large amounts of variable renewable energy? Well, by late 2016, I was very focused on this. There'd been a major, partly because of a failure to put in place storage to back up the state's growing wind and solar production. And so I spoke to a lot of people. You can read more about that in my book, A Bigger Picture, if it interests you. But one of the people I spoke to, and more importantly listened to, was Professor Andrew Blakers of your university. He's been a world leader in the way in which pumped hydro storage is conceived. This is an old technology, using cheap energy to pump water uphill so that when energy is in high demand and prices have risen, think of a hot, windless summer evening, you can generate electricity by, it's in fact a water battery. Now, Professor Blakers' work on pumped hydro and how it can be deployed off-river without any adverse environmental implications by simply building and connecting two reservoirs at different elevations really set me thinking. And within a few months, I'd started a big new energy storage agenda. As a result of that, I got the new Snowy 2.0 pumped hydro project underway. It's being constructed as we speak, as well as a similarly big concept in Tasmania called the Battery of the Nation. Now, the government purchased the shares of New South Wales and Victoria in Snowy Hydro. So I suppose I could say I've actually nationalised the means of production, although it probably doesn't get full marks from Marx if it's one government buying from another. Now, these pumped hydro schemes and others are renewables reliable, and they're happening today in Australia in large part because I was curious, found smart, knowledgeable people, asked them lots of questions, and took lots of notes. So you're never too old to be curious. And whether you are an 18-year-old fresher at the ANU or a 60-something Prime Minister, your inquiries will always be welcome and indeed flattering. Now, I have to confess that I do have a fascination with anything that involves water. Julie will remember that when I was the Water Resources Minister in John Howard's government, I would sometimes include in a speech about irrigation in the Murray-Darling Basin a brief exposition of the Roman aqueduct system. Now, there is something timeless about water problems. In 97 AD, Julius Sextus Frontinus was appointed the Curator Aquarum, effectively the chief executive of Nerva. At that time, Rome's system of aqueducts provided over 1,000 litres of water per day to each of the city's 1 million inhabitants, an achievement not matched in scale in modern cities until last century. He wrote a book about the aqueducts of Rome, and if you read it, you'll find not a lot has changed. He complains about people not paying their water bills, lazy and dishonest contractors, people, especially farmers, stealing water. You can see the connection to the Murray-Darling Basin, and of course the constant problem of maintenance, tree roots obstructing channels, and so on. Now, remember, one of the biggest means of achieving net zero emissions, and really 2050 is too far off, we have to do that much, much sooner, and we can, is by generating all or almost all of our energy from zero emission sources, coupled with the electrification of the economy. So replacing conventional motor cars with internal combustion engines with electric vehicles, just one good example of that. Now, it's very easy in any area of knowledge to get deluged in data and sometimes literally lose sight of the wood for the trees. In water economics, for example, you can work out most problems by recognising that 1,000 litres equals a cubic metre equals a tonne, which when you reflect on the very low price of water, even into your bathtub at home in Canberra or Sydney or any other big city, means that it has a very low value to volume and to weight, with all of the implications for water projects, particularly grandiose ones, that entails. Now, with renewable energy, the key fact, the key insight is that wind and solar are zero marginal cost generators. They don't have a fuel cost. So it doesn't cost any more to generate an extra megawatt hour of electricity. This has the consequence that given the variability of solar radiation, which is regular and predictable by and large, and wind, a little bit less so, we will have times of the day when electricity is in superabundance and times when it is not. And of course, demand is also variable. Those of you with solar panels and especially household batteries at home will understand this dynamic very well. Now, apart from pumped hydro, which I have to confess is my favourite, the other two key energy storage technologies are, of course, chemical batteries and green hydrogen, made without using fossil fuels. I won't take time on batteries today, but it's a subject of keen interest to me, and I hope to you as well. Hydrogen is the most abundant and simplest element. It's a very effective carrier of energy, although it is hard to store and move, both because it has to reduce it to a liquid, requires cooling to minus 250 degrees Celsius, and highly inflammable. Remember the Hindenburg. Now, hydrogen can be produced from splitting water through a process of electrolysis in which the hydrogen is attached to the cathode and oxygen to the anode. The feasibility of this process, for which there are several techniques, was well established by the 19th century, but it has yet to be optimised on an industrial scale, and costs remain relatively high. However, the attraction of making green hydrogen from abundant renewable energy is a really compelling one. Indeed, it's probably the single most important technological challenge in the battle against global warming. Hydrogen can be used as a fuel to drive a turbine when the sun goes down, can be used as a transport fuel via a fuel cell, which is effectively electrolysis in reverse, and that can be readily deployed on the land and sea, on vehicles and ships, and prospectively in aviation as well. Hydrogen can also be used to replace coal in steelmaking. In today's blast furnaces, the oxygen in iron ore, ferrous oxide, combines with the carbon in coal and coke and escapes as carbon dioxide, which is why steelmaking is about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But if hydrogen is used instead of coal, the oxygen is similarly driven off, but when it combines with the hydrogen, it escapes as steam, H2O, water. Now, the first thing that green hydrogen requires is cheap electricity. That's more available all the time. You'll have seen a number of big renewable energy projects in northern Australia are planning to use abundant solar energy to make green hydrogen. The bigger challenge, the bigger technical challenge, is to reduce the cost of electrolysis, the process itself. Now, the goal is to achieve a cost of $2 a kilogram of hydrogen, which would make it competitive with fossil fuel sources on a straight economic basis and without applying a carbon cost, as obviously one should, to the use of fossil fuels. So that's a big challenge and a big objective. It's the target of many countries' hydrogen strategies, including our own, but it's some way off. Now, you will have seen Andrew Forrest, the founder of the iron ore giant Fortescue Metals Group, has made it his mission to deliver on a vast industrial scale, commercially viable green hydrogen. With Australia's enormous endowment of solar energy and some of the best terrestrial wind energy sources, we do have both the opportunity and responsibility to bring green hydrogen to commercial reality. Our planet's survival literally may well depend on it. Now, these are some of my passions, but they're just a few of the things you can learn about here at the ANU. Challenges are in abundance. Climate change we've touched on, but there remains COVID, of course, and the pandemic's yet to come, not to speak of the threats to democracy from populist authoritarianism. So much to think and learn about. So enjoy and revel in the opportunities you have here. There has never been a more exciting time to be at the ANU. Be bold, keep your minds and ears open, and remember, keep asking questions and taking notes. Soak up the story so far, and then with courage and imagination, write your own stories. And if you do that, as the Chancellor will tell you, you will never be bored. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malcolm. Great to have your very wise words of someone who has seen it all. I know the basic advice to our students of making sure you take in everything here, and your then reflections on this grand challenge that we have as a nation and as a world around essentially electrifying our economy, getting out into a low or no greenhouse gas future. ANU, of course, is working on this, and you mentioned some of the ways, and we are partners in the largest renewable energy project up in the Pilbara that combines wind, it combines solar, it combines exporting to Southeast Asia, it combines working with the First Nations members of the land up in there to constructively create a new industry for Australia. So no matter what you're studying here, all 7 colleges are related and involved in that work. It involves and cuts across everything that we do. And so when Malcolm suggests that you need to go out and listen, do that for your own good. Don't be a one-trick pony. You can see the rich life that former Prime Minister had, and it is that rich life that allowed him to achieve what he has in the past and what he will in the future. So I encourage you, even those who want to be the next Prime Minister of Australia, to have that breadth like Malcolm has had, because it will serve you well. So thank you very much, Malcolm, once again, on behalf of all of us here at ANU, and we hope to see you around campus in the coming months and years. Cheers. I would now like to invite our 2 student presidents to welcome you to ANU. Our student presidents represent student voices, both on the ANU Council and across a range of meetings and committees. The student associations have also coordinated a number of orientation events, and they'll continue to run events, workshops, campaigns, etc., all to support your time at ANU. We really see it as a partnership. And so we're first going to hear from Madhu Janagaraja. She is the 2021 president of the Undergraduate Association, known as ANUSA. She is completing her Bachelor of Science Psychology and has been an active member of ANUSA since 2018. She has a keen passion for community work and advocacy, primarily through her involvement with various ACT-based non-government organizations. And she hopes to pursue further study as a clinical psychologist working directly in the local community. Thank you, Madhu.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to introduce myself to you today. Before I begin, I would like to, of course, respectfully acknowledge the past and present traditional owners of the land upon which we're meeting, the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people. It is a privilege to be standing in Ngunnawal and Ngambri country, and I ask you to join me in committing to individual and collective acts of reconciliation today and every day. This week, ANUSA brings you Chronicle, a celebration of the student voice throughout the ages, because it is no exaggeration to say that hundreds of thousands of students have lived, learnt, and experience their lives at university here before you, where you stand or sit today. As I welcome you to ANU, I also hope to welcome you at least at one of the spectacular 70+ events that we have planned for you over the next 5 days, not least of which is Market Day. Your time at ANU is an opportunity to find passion, to find purpose, and the convictions that are the foundation for a strong sense of self, to understand what your place as a member of society is, and to define what you believe we owe to each other as members of a community. Some of us will have come from across the seas here today. Some of us will have come across the city. Some of us will be the first in our families to come to university, whereas others will carry the legacies and stories of generations. Some of us will have sacrificed much to follow our passions and to chase our dreams here at university. Some of us will be here to discover what those passions are and what our sense of purpose is. At ANU, regardless of which of those you fit into, I promise that there is a space for you here, and those journeys will converge into one. But there will surely be times that you will be plagued with a crisis of faith, with doubt in yourself. There will probably be times that you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, times that you fall short of your goals, or find that the path that you're walking is so different to the one that you imagined. There might be times you don't know who to turn to for help. All of those things are okay. Believe in the person that emerges from those struggles, because that person is one that has the perseverance and the resilience to conquer them. Believe and understand to what service to society you wish to dedicate that struggle to. There's a quote from Audre Lorde that I quite enjoy that says, "When I dare to be fearless and when I dare to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important as to whether I am afraid." But I can reassure you that you will never have to walk alone in doing so, because ANU is a place of learning and truth-seeking, but it is also one, first and foremost, of community and solidarity. Without community, there can be no progress. ANUSA is part of that community, and we're here to help. Our pillars are welfare, social, and last but definitely not least, advocacy. Should you experience any need for financial assistance at ANU, grocery vouchers, transport vouchers, emergency accommodation, emergency grants, medical grants that don't need to be paid back, we're here for you. Our clubs, societies, departments, O Week and Bush Week form up the bulk of the social calendar here at ANU, and these are all avenues that I really encourage you to get involved in. Finally, again, definitely not least, but advocacy. We have representatives in every college, across all of our autonomous departments, that are here to support and work together with you, and of course, all of the wonderful staff and academics that make up ANU, operational and professional and academic, to make our education and learning experience here a better one. I encourage you to check us alike on Facebook, read our newsletters as they come in weekly, and get involved in the many wonderful opportunities throughout the year. Please never hesitate to reach out. We're here for you and we have your back, because we're your association. Finally, I would be wrong to not close without encouraging you to go to at least some of your classes in the first few weeks. I promise it'll make exam season much easier. Thank you so much for having me, and once again, welcome to ANU. I hope it's my privilege to see at least part of what you do over the next few years.
Thank you, Madhu, and thank you for being such a great partner. You and your colleagues in ANUSA really are an important part of this university. And as you reminded Council, that ANUSA and PARSA oversee more clubs and societies here at ANU than any other university in the Southern Hemisphere, which is quite remarkable because we're also one of the smallest universities in Australia with respect to our students. So there's a lot to do. I next would like to invite Eve Walker, president of our postgraduate association, known as PARSA, to speak. Eve is a second-year Juris Doctor student with a background in political science and history. In 2018, Eve was granted a new Colombo Scholarship to complete her final year of undergraduate studies at the University of Hong Kong, which has been quite an experience. Thank you, Eve.
I feel a little emotional following Madhu's inspirational speech a second there. Thank you for that. But before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional landowners of which we be, the Ngunnawal Ngambri people. We commit to standing with and listening to elders past, present, and emerging. I think it goes without saying that 2020 was a difficult year, so congratulations to everyone who's decided to join us here at the ANU today and further their educational prospects. Whether or not you come here for a change in your career or to become a field expert, I promise that your time here will not go to waste. We are all very fortunate to be studying among the next generation of Australia's leaders, so please take every opportunity you have to learn and grow. Just so everyone knows, as a postgraduate student, you are automatically a member of PARSA in the same way that you are automatically granted membership for ANUSA. You may take a few months to come into contact with us, though seeing the fact that you're all here for commencement means that we'll probably see you around O week. But if you ever need our services, you don't need to sign up or worry. You can just call our office and we'll always be there to help. One other thing to note, a lot of the programs I'm going to outline are also available for ANUSA. We're sister organizations. So if you hear something that you're interested in, such as CEEF, etc., you can apply through us, but otherwise ANUSA should have a very similar program for you to access as well. One of our most utilized resources is our student support program. We are able to provide students with financial advice, legal assistance, and academic support when needed. If you feel as if you've been treated unfairly by a professor, our professional staff would be more than willing to discuss or sit in with discussions with the university. Same as if you have any issues with plagiarism or you just feel like you need some form of external support. As elected representatives, many of us sit on committees and workshop groups with key stakeholders at the ANU. Voicing the concerns of students at these meetings is incredibly important. For staff members cannot be expected to know what's happening at every level of the university without us. Effective consultation benefits everyone. Among PhD candidates, our Shut Up and Write program is incredibly popular. It provides an outlet for students to workshop their thesis in a comfortable environment among food and friends as well. I know everyone loves the dinner time sessions. CEEF grants are also available for if you have any ideas about a new club or a business you want to create, or also if you want to attend a conference when that becomes available to you. Over the past year, many of us have noticed the lacking of networking opportunities on campus. By increasing our college budgets, we hope to offer students an opportunity to help develop industry connections. This, in addition to a tutoring hub and inter-college thesis discussions, will take several months to launch, but there's something to look forward to in the upcoming few months. If you have any ideas about events or services you would like us to provide, please reach out. I'm keenly aware of our limited reach amongst domestic students and PhD candidates in previous years. Acknowledging this is the first step, but it's always incredibly valuable to actually have people reach out because there's only 31 of us at the moment. Finally, as a peak representative body, we tend to focus a lot on advocacy. Previous campaigns have focused on the price and availability of accommodation on campus. Over the next few months, we'll be focusing on academic issues related to the hybrid model of teaching. Before I go, I'd like to give you a little bit of insight into how easy it is to join PARSA. I personally have been a member for 11 months now. Originally, I was appointed out of session as a College of Law representative, but the majority of my team began as volunteers or visible members of other clubs and associations. If you're committed to improving our services, or the services available to students, and work well with others, we'd love to have you. There are 31 positions available for members of the PRC. In the last year, we've created another 4 off the top of my head, 4 or 5. Many students have families and careers, so representing their diverse needs would be impossible if only a select few people were interested. Over the next few weeks, you'll also see us running a plethora of social and equity events. In saying this, I'd like to thank Sophie Yeager and Kinish Kumar and the rest of their team for making O Week possible. I personally am very pleased I haven't had to deal with all the strategy and COVID safety requirements involved, so I'm over the moon that you've been able to make it work. So with that, I hope to see you around campus. Good luck settling into your classes and making new friends. I'm sure you'll all have a great time.
Thank you, Eve. And as Eve has said, there's a lot of places that everyone can contribute and help be part of this great community. To our new students, this should be one of the most exciting weeks of your lives. For our current staff and students, it is a chance for us to welcome you into our community. ANU changed my life when I arrived here back in 1995, and it will change your life. It's a community you are a member of now and forever, and it will serve as a foundation to many things that you do in the future. But ultimately, you make your own journey and it's here to provide you the support you need to get where you want in life. Every university has a mission, and our mission is interesting on a global scale. That is, we have this place here in Canberra, 6 minutes away from Parliament House, and we were created to help Australia emerge out of World War II and become a prosperous nation. If you think about right now, one of the biggest shocks the world has seen since World War II, ANU is once again here to help Australia, the region, and the world emerge from a very challenging time. And whether or not you realize it now, in getting your education, you will become the people who go out and change the world and make it better. So I know right now when you're just starting, doesn't feel like it's going to be you. It's got to be someone, and the world is looking to you. So we were created to sort of be the first place that a research-led university in Australia. And now we're, of course, not the only place that does it, but ANU helped bring that to Australia. At present, as I said earlier, we are a university that is different. The student body here is smaller and more diverse geographically than any other university in Australia. And that gives you a chance to meet and connect with all sorts of people working on just about anything imaginable. We have the ability to connect you not just with Australia, not just the region, but globally. And that is the other thing that you gain. So it's a very special opportunity that you are given and only a few people get. We are also a community that connects from the students all the way up to the Vice Chancellor. And that's one of the things afforded by our scale. You will see me and other members of staff wandering around campus, perhaps going and getting a coffee, or any number of things, and I encourage you to reach out and say hello, have a conversation. We love doing that. As Malcolm Turnbull said, we should be prepared, all of you should be prepared to go out and reach out to everyone else, not just on our campus, but around campus, or around Canberra. And in doing so, you might even ask me or members of the staff to help you. Why not, if you're going to have a conversation with the Governor General, actually involve your classmates as well? We can help organize. It's a partnership. And we are here to help you as much as you, you are here to help us as much as we are to help you. So our campus is a melting pot. And I really do want you to be part of it. It will be daunting, but you will start meeting people that are a lot like you and very, very different. Being part of the community at ANU means, though, that you need to understand what and how we work. So our campus absolutely has to be a place that is safe for everyone in our community. And that means everyone has a role in fostering that environment built on respect. I want you to think now into the future. I want you to channel Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. If you put that at the core of your thoughts, there will not be problems. The place where things break down is where we don't respect each other. And you can break it down to that one word. Listen to Paul Howes in his language of the people who have been here for 20,000 years. It was all around respect. And if you can get that one thing right your entire time here, I promise you it'll make all the difference, not just to you, but to people around you. We each have the responsibility to behave respectfully towards our peers, our teachers, our visitors. If you treat people with the respect you want to be treated, there's really nothing is going to go wrong. So our community is committed to providing opportunity equal to everyone, no matter where they come from, what their beliefs or culture are. Everything that is legal and respectful is allowed here. Everything. It's a very simple message. By coming here, you are part of this community and you're agreeing to uphold and be part of this culture. But to respectfully call out behaviors when you see things that fall short of these expectations, that is also part of your job. You can't just turn a blind eye. You have to call out things that aren't right. I know this is hard to do, but it's the right thing, And if you do call something out, your peers will back you. That happens again and again and again and again. So on a very somber note in this area, every year we have way too many of our students experience sexual violence from another student. If we all respect each other, this will not happen. On campus, we have established the Respectful Relationships Unit, which is a leading group in the sector. The unit is focused on education and training, but also to support for survivors. And I'm very proud of the work Sue Webbick, and Sue, you can wave your hand, I see you by the tree, and her team do in our community, and I know from meeting survivors that the unit changes lives. I hope you never need to access the support services, but know that if you do, you will be well supported. It's a heavy topic of conversation for your first week, I know that, but we cannot make change if we do not address it up front. So I want you to think about that respect straight up front. With all things in life, opportunity comes with that responsibility. Today is the start of what should be, as I said earlier, one of the most important chapters of your life. Savor it. Approach it with verve. These are the days you will remember for the rest of your life. And every one of us here who is a past student can remember that first day at university, the first week. My first day is a little different than yours. I arrived in Tucson, Arizona from Anchorage, Alaska, Tucson being one of the hottest places in the United States and Alaska being one of the coldest. I arrived in 1985, and the day I arrived, the University of Arizona was named Playboy Party School of the Year. The 1980s classic Revenge of the Nerds was being literally shot on campus, and as one of the crew told me, the reason they were there is because they literally didn't have to build a set. It just came out as described. Now, I'm proud to say Arizona cleaned its act up over the coming years because it was not clean when I got there, but wow, it was not what I was expecting. I promise you that you're not going to quite get that here. You're going to get an amazing intellectual environment, but you will also have a good time here. But your good time will be based around respect, which I'm afraid was not always in place at Arizona when I arrived. While you are here, you're going to meet people who see the world just like you do. Many of you will finally meet people who are just like, wow, this is the person I've been waiting for my entire life. But you're also going to meet people who are completely different, who are really, really smart and you really, really disagree with. That's good. What one of your goals should be, as Malcolm Turnbull suggested, is to meet people from all sorts of backgrounds and learn and understand. Don't just go into your little shell of who and what you already believe. Expand your horizons. You will meet people who inspire you, and in this, you will end up being able to be a better person yourself who has a better understanding of what's possible in the world. You are literally here going to meet people who are going to change the world. We don't know who it is now. You might be the person who changes the world, and everyone today says, oh, I sat next to them at commencement, because people here will change the world. When I look back at my time, I met my wife while we were doing our PhDs, and I remember her complaining about this group of basketball players when she was teaching aerobics, that she had to forcibly literally get off the court each day. One of those people was Barack Obama. The person she was teaching aerobics with, and she was also the person she was the economics advisor, undergraduate advisor to, was Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook. That's going to happen to you too. I know it seems crazy, but it happens. People went to school with Kevin Rudd here, saw the Midnight Oils play here on campus. You're seeing CEOs, you're seeing high court justices, you're seeing leaders of foreign countries. That happens here. And the journey is the important bit. Actually, the leaders, when these people become leaders, I can tell you, when you talk to them, they always talk about the journey. They talk about these times as the really important parts they want. So go out, make the most of it, and maybe you will become one of the leaders, or maybe you will just do a great job at something. But my point being is you don't know. What's really important, though, is to do your best And in doing your best, you make everything possible in the future. Your happiness ultimately will not be on what you achieve, but the journey that you take in life. So I'm going to finish up now and just say, for me, my journey as a young student had its ups and downs. Our students talked about it. There will be ups and downs. Not every day is going to be the best day of your life. But taken as a whole, it should be one of the most important times of your life. The university, as I said, is your partner. We don't want to just be seen as the people who make decisions and don't listen to you. We want to listen and we want to work with you to make the place a better place. Your student advocates here are one way, but just reach out to your fellow students through people within the residences, if you're there, within your teachers and lecturers. We're all here to really solve these problems together. And you all have a lot to offer because you're offering that fresh perspective, unconstrained by previous ways of thinking. You're coming in with fresh, and we'll work in partnership to solve these problems together. So 2021 is hopefully going to be a less disrupted year than 2020. I know most of us had a highly disrupted 2020. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to get better and better and better. And if we work collectively together to support each other and think, how can I make something happen that we're not doing because of COVID, for example? If you have a great idea, share it with us. Ian Anderson, you can wave your hand, student experience right here. His job is to work with you and to figure out how to make this campus sing on a day-to-day basis. And you guys know how to do that as well as we do. So on behalf of the Australian National University, welcome to ANU. And I wish us all the chance to go out and have a bit of a barbecue now. Is that correct? We need to remain seated, and I'm hoping that Joe will provide a little bit of detail. So I will hand over to Joe White. Welcome, and I look forward to seeing you over the next year and years ahead. Cheers.